Chosen one, God's plan is to overfund you. Final step. There comes a moment when heaven pauses and stares directly at you, not because you are needy, not because you are broken, not because you begged or pleaded, but because your assignment has reached the final step. You didn't just endure the storm, you outlasted it. You didn't just walk by faith, you grew wings mid-air. You didn't just pray for provision, you became the proof that divine timing is never late. And now, in this sacred moment that was always written for you, you are standing at the doorstep of divine overfunding. Not just enough, not just barely made it. God is planning to overfund you, to give you such overflow that your old mindset will panic trying to keep up. And no, it's not random. It's strategic. It's spiritual. It's supernatural. It's the final step. Watch this video until the end and share your warmest wishes and the number 777 in the comments below. This single act sends a wave of energy into the universe, aligning your desires with divine flow and declaring boldly that you are ready to receive what's already yours. Now, chosen one, like this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and let's begin. You've arrived at a checkpoint that wasn't meant to drain you, but to crown you. The delays weren't to discourage you. They were calibrations, shaping your capacity for the level of blessing that was always going to outsize your expectations. Let's make this clear. You are not being rewarded because you are lucky. You are being overfunded because you are trusted. That's the key difference. God doesn't overfund the irresponsible. He doesn't pour destiny into distracted vessels. He waits for the moment where your surrender is complete, your ego is silent, and your spirit is loud. And in that silence, He declares, "Now, they are ready." And chosen one, you are that person. The final step isn't always visible. It's not a finish line made of gold or a parade of angels announcing your arrival. Sometimes it's disguised as stillness, as silence, as a moment where you question if it's even happening. But I promise you this, if you're hearing this message, you're already inside the shift. What God is funding isn't just your wallet. It's your reach, your vision, your impact, your future generations. This isn't just a moment. It's a movement that begins with you. You're not being prepared for a one-time breakthrough. You're being positioned to live permanently in divine overflow. Every time you were denied, it was actually redirection. Every no was God adjusting the angle of your miracle. The funds you didn't get were never lost. They were accumulating with interest in a realm where time does not deplete but multiplies destiny. And now, in this final step, the accumulation becomes activation. God is saying, the vault is ready, the release is legal, and the name on the deposit is yours. You don't have to perform for this. You don't have to chase anyone. You don't have to explain yourself to people who never saw the blueprint. You just have to remain still long enough to let the funding find you. Let's talk about what it means to be overfunded. This is not just money in the bank. This is alignment so perfect that your name gets brought up in rooms you've never entered. This is favor so bold that people assume you must be famous. This is supernatural scheduling, where opportunities meet your exact location and ask you if you're available. You're not going to beg. You're not going to shrink. You're not going to worry if it will last. This funding isn't temporary. It's legacy-fueled. It's kingdom-coded. It's attached to the work you were born to do. God is not just paying you for what you did. He's funding what you were built to build. The final step is a bridge. It's the closing of one chapter and the silent unlocking of the next. Some of you have been carrying blueprints in your soul that no one else could see. Plans, ideas, systems, businesses, ministries, things so heavy that it felt like they were burdens. But they weren't burdens. They were sacred blueprints waiting for their financier. And God says, I'm not just your creator, I'm also your sponsor. He's sponsoring your purpose. He's funding your next. He's supplying the fuel for your legacy. And no earthly system can stop this transaction because heaven already approved it. You've been tested in silence, and you passed. You gave when you had little. You praised when you were empty. You didn't retaliate when you were mocked. And that, chosen one, is why the overfunding has been scheduled. You proved you could handle the empty rooms. Now, God is opening the filled ones. Rooms filled with solutions. Rooms filled with divine collaborators. Rooms where you no longer have to explain your worth. You will be recognized without a resume. Remember this, overfunding is not just financial. It is dimensional. It upgrades every area of your life simultaneously. There's a reason why it took this long. The harvest had to match the level of obedience. The return had to mirror the pain. The overfunding had to come in such a way that it rewrites your family's entire financial story. You were not born to survive, chosen one. You were born to show the world what it looks like when God decides to overflow a vessel who refused to break. Your life is not a mystery anymore. It's a message. A message that says, if God says wait, it's because He's working on something weighty. You were not forgotten. You were being stored in a vault of divine precision. And now, it's release season. You don't need anyone's permission to prosper. You only need alignment. And chosen one, you are finally in sync. The final step isn't to strive, it's to receive. The last move isn't yours, it's God's, and He's already stepped forward. All you need to do now is believe boldly, walk gently, and be unapologetically ready, because what's coming will look nothing like what you've survived. It will look like a divine flood, the kind of funding that chases you, the kind of overflow that doesn't ask for approval, the kind of miracle that makes people ask, how did they get that? And the answer will be simple. God overfunded His chosen one. You may not realize it yet, but every delay was a divine protection. You may have doubted, cried, whispered prayers into the midnight silence, hoping someone would hear you. But what you didn't know was that your faith was echoing into places your feet hadn't touched yet. Your whisper was a command in the spirit realm. Your quiet endurance created a loud signal in heaven. While people thought nothing was moving for you, God was setting up everything behind the veil. He wasn't just preparing the blessing, He was preparing you to carry it well, without crumbling, without compromising, without forgetting who you are. Because this time, chosen one, what's coming is too large to be handled with shallow roots. And the pain, the silence, the stretching, it all built deep roots within you. You were never waiting for a thing. You were becoming someone. Someone unstoppable, someone powerful, someone trustworthy with supernatural supply. Someone who can walk into any room and know they belong because God sent them there. You were never meant to be common. And that's exactly why your process was uncommon. That's why it looked like others were winning while you were still waiting. Because when you're chosen to be overfunded by God, your preparation isn't microwaved. It's marinated. It's strategic. It takes longer, but when it arrives, it lasts longer too. What's about to flood your life won't need validation. It will prove itself. Let this land in your spirit. You are walking into a realm of life where answers don't delay anymore, where what you speak arrives, where the energy around you changes because you've become magnetic to favor. You didn't get here by accident. You were led. Even when it looked like you were stumbling, you were actually being shifted. That's how divine it's been. Nothing wasted, not even your lowest point. Because even at your lowest, you didn't fold. Even when you wanted to quit, you didn't betray your promise. Even when people misunderstood you, you stayed kind. Even when the doors slammed, you blessed the hallway. And heaven never forgot that. There are moves happening around your name right now that you haven't even prayed for. Because God isn't just answering prayers, He's exceeding them. The kind of overfunding coming to you is beyond logic. It's the kind that only makes sense when you realize this was never about you earning it. It was about you surrendering to it. And you did. Quietly. Consistently. And now God is releasing loudly, publicly, generously, not only to meet your needs, but to make a statement. This is what I do for my faithful ones. And yes, it will shock people. It will confuse those who doubted you. It will silence those who laughed when you were sowing in tears. Because what you're walking into is evidence. You will not need to defend yourself. Your life will speak for itself. The doors that open now will be God-sized doors. The pace that picks up will be supernatural. The connections that appear will feel too perfect to explain. And that's because they are heaven-sent. You are not being thrown into success. You are being positioned into sustained overflow. Because this time, it's not a one-hit wonder. This time, it's forever. You've reached a level where things will start coming to you. The striving is over. The anxiety is dissolving. The nervousness is being replaced by bold peace. You won't have to manipulate opportunities or convince people anymore. You'll simply be in the right place at the right time because you finally trust the timing of your life. You finally understand that you don't have to chase what God said is assigned to you. And what's assigned finds you when you're still. It's important that you start living from this overflow before the material arrives. You need to train your spirit to operate in abundance now, because the moment is close and your capacity must match the weight of what's coming. You don't want to arrive at your appointed table and still be thinking like you're in survival mode. That's why God didn't rush the release. He needed your mind to mature into miracle territory. You've graduated. You no longer react from fear. You respond from peace. You no longer guess. You discern. You no longer hustle. You align. And this, chosen one, is what divine overfunding is meant to fuel. A life that is stable, steady, and surrendered. There are people you haven't met yet whose only assignment is to bless you. There are accounts with your name on them, resources that were hidden for such a time as this. Kingdom vaults that held back. Not because you were unworthy, but because timing is everything. And the final step was never about doing more. It was about being more. Being more aware of what you carry. Being more open to receiving help. Being more attuned to the fact that God does not run out of resources. You were never forgotten. You were reserved. The beautiful part of this phase is that you'll no longer over-explain. You'll just live. You'll no longer give people access who don't value your vision. You'll protect your atmosphere. You'll wake up feeling a supernatural boldness, a fire in your belly, a peace in your heart. And you'll start saying things like, "This is different," because it will be. The energy will be different. The momentum will be different. The favor will be louder, faster, more specific. You won't feel the need to apologize for having more. Because now you understand. The more wasn't about you. It was about your mission. And missions need resources. Big missions need overfunding. What's coming isn't ordinary, and it won't require ordinary language. You'll need a new vocabulary for the level you're entering. Words like overflow, inheritance, divine acceleration, miraculous exposure, permanent upgrade will become normal to you, because this is now your reality, not in the distant future, now. You've arrived at the moment where your agreement with God has unlocked your abundance. You didn't skip steps. You endured all of them. That's why this final step will feel light. It will be joyful. It will be peaceful. Because you paid your price in tears, and now you're due for celebration. You will not be chasing payments. You will not be hunting for opportunities. You will be discovered. You will be remembered. You will be recompensed. Because the God who began your story has already written the ending, and He decided that your name will be associated with favor, generosity, wealth, wisdom, and divine execution. You are a living example that trust works, that obedience bears fruit, that faith still moves mountains. And when people ask what changed for you, you'll simply say, "I waited for God's final step, and now I walk in overflow." There are things coming into your life right now that carry an unfamiliar ease. And that is not because you've become lazy or passive. It is because you have entered alignment. Alignment, chosen one, is when you no longer push against the current of God's plan, but allow yourself to be carried by it. You no longer pray for a miracle. You walk in miracles. You no longer beg for help. You attract it. The doors that used to be locked no longer intimidate you, because you now understand that it's not about the door. It's about the one who holds the keys. And the truth is that key holder has already declared this season unlocked. This is your final step, and it comes with power. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that flows. It's the power of knowing who you are, what you carry, and where you're going. You are no longer guessing. You're no longer confused. The fog has lifted. The internal storms have calmed. The emotional clutter has been swept clean by the hand of divine timing. You have never been more ready than you are right now. And even if you still feel like you're not fully qualified, let this be clear. God does not choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. And you, chosen one, have passed every quiet test that was sent to break you. Do you understand the gravity of this? You were not selected for survival. You were prepared for significance. You are about to live in a reality that mirrors your obedience, your patience, your integrity when no one was watching. You will no longer have to explain how hard it was. Your harvest will say it all. People will see what's flowing to you and ask, "How?" And you won't have to list your struggles. You'll just point to the heavens with a calm smile and say, "This is what favor looks like when it matures." There is a very specific reason this release is being called an overfunding. Because you will not just have enough to solve your problems, you will have more than enough to fund solutions for others. You will become a vessel, through which divine provision moves. You will create. You will distribute. You will build. You will sow into others with such authority and joy that people will be confused by your generosity. And yet, you'll never run out. Because the source of your overflow is not an income, it's a calling. And callings don't dry up. They evolve. They expand. And as yours expands, so will your supply. Chosen one, there is a divine principle that many miss in moments like this. The weight of wealth is spiritual. That's why not everyone can carry it. That's why your process was as long and deep as it was, so that when this overfunding comes, it doesn't crush you. You are no longer afraid of increase. You no longer sabotage success. You no longer panic when people praise you. You've grown past the need for approval. You've matured past the fear of failure. And now, you are equipped to rise without resistance, to carry wealth without arrogance, to influence without manipulation. You've become the kind of soul heaven can trust. There are ideas inside of you that have been collecting dust, not because you weren't ready to act on them, but because the funding wasn't available yet. That changes now. The green light has been given. The treasury of heaven has been unlocked in your name. The partnerships, the contracts, the grants, the payoffs, the surprises, they've all been scheduled for release. And the reason this is the final step is because there's nothing more you need to prove. You have been approved. This next phase is not about toil, it's about trust, not about labor. It's about launching, not about repeating. It's about receiving. You will begin to notice that things which once took months will now take moments. That's what happens when you're in the flow of God's strategy. You won't need to rehearse pitches. Doors will open without one. You won't need to beg for exposure. Favor will shout your name. You won't need to manipulate outcomes. Abundance will arrive on schedule. Because the kind of overfunding we are speaking of is not random. It's mathematical in the spirit. Every tear was recorded. Every quiet act of kindness was logged. Every seed sown in silence was counted. And now? Now comes the exponential return. You are about to walk into rooms with nothing in your hands, but everything in your spirit. And people will feel it. They will feel the power, the depth, the grace, the precision. You won't need to raise your voice. You won't need to dominate. Your energy will speak. Because when heaven funds someone, it marks them. And that mark cannot be copied, cannot be cloned, cannot be bought. You've been marked, chosen one. Not for pity, not for struggle, but for overflow. You carry a frequency that now pulls abundance to you naturally.